Hey everybody, it's Nathan Rich again. I'm here in Beijing's 798 Art District. And today I want to finally answer the question, why doesn't Nathan Rich ever say bad things about China? I mean, that would be fair and objective, right? A few weeks ago, I was talking to a Chinese guy, and he told me, you know what you should do? You should say bad things about China. I said, why should I say bad things about a place that I think is actually pretty cool? And he said, well, then your message will be more powerful, because if you're saying negative things too, then people will feel like you're more objective and more neutral. And I want to kind of explain to you why I disagree with that. If we take a look at the context of the discussion surrounding the politics of China, the geopolitics of, Asia and North America, and just sort of the state of the world today, I think it's very glib to say that if one single source is not saying both positive and negative things, it is therefore biased and untrustworthy. And let me explain why. When I look at the way that the whole world is reporting on China, I see a very interesting trend in some of the media of the West. They seem to range between completely anti-Chinese and somewhat anti-Chinese, and it's very rare to find even one single article that is just neutrally laid out. It's just, here's what happened, and critics say this and supporters say that, and we really don't have an opinion. In fact, I can't even think of an example article. So what I see instead are articles that have very strong points and emotions behind them, and very little evidence often. So when I think about the way that media talks about China, I think of places like CNN and New York Times and Wall Street Journal and all these different news organizations. And again, there's very, very few examples that I can think of an article or a video that is just totally objective. For the most part, these venues create anti-Chinese propaganda. So the question is, am I interested in balancing my own channel so that I appear to be objective? Or am I interested in balancing the world conversation about China so that the conversation about China becomes objective? The first goal is to make myself look better. Maybe you could argue that the reason I could do that is to therefore have more clout and potentially achieve a bigger goal. And I understand that. However, I'm personally more focused on the second goal, which is to make the conversation about China more balanced. So, in other words, if there's a lot of negativity going in one direction, I feel like an answer to that is to put positivity going the other direction, not to put positivity going the other direction and also add negativity going towards it. That's just my feeling. That's just how I am. Are there things in China that I don't like or even really don't like? Of course. But the thing is, there's already 75 hate mongers making videos about that stuff. So why would me talking about it add anything to the conversation? Nobody's really talking about, hey, Tim Pool, the first person who died from the coronavirus wasn't on December 6th. And you just told hundreds of thousands of people that it was. And then when you got called out on it, you just said, quote, I don't care. I want to tell you something that I think about a lot. Imagine if you were in a room with somebody that you cared about, and outside you heard a noise. You look outside and there's a bunch of people making accusations about the person that you care about. And they're very livid. They're angry. And some of the accusations that they're saying sound pretty weird. Like, oh, he goes to the bathroom. Ugh. Right? And you kind of go, well, that seems like you also do that? Or... right? So there's a lot of negativity coming into this room, and you care about this other person. Is the response to this that you should go outside and say, hey, you know what? I also don't really like the fact that he goes to the bathroom. You're right about that. But he is kind of a nice guy, and yeah, we should beat him up, but not that bad, right? I mean, this is, I guess, more balanced because you're saying negative things and positive things, but that's just not who I am. When I think of what to do, I think, hey, I want to go outside and I want to correct the premise of the conversation first. I want to say, hey, look, you're saying a bunch of stuff. I've checked the facts. I've checked some of the details. It's incorrect. So before we continue to evaluate these 700 accusations, why doesn't everybody go back to the drawing board and think about the standard of evidence we hold ourselves to when talking about my friend in here? I don't even care if what you're saying is true or not, because I don't even want to look at it until we actually start the conversation off in the right way. And the right way, by the way, is the same way we talk about every other person in any other rooms. So maybe it's not a great analogy, but the point is, if we're going to talk about China in a ultra negative way all the time, adding one person in there who says negative things and positive things, to me, is just not, I'm sorry, it doesn't sound interesting to me. Anyway, today I just wanted to let you guys know how I actually see this. Yes, it's true that for myself, if I really want people to think I'm an objective guy, then I could just make a little island that hates on and loves on China. But that totally ignores the entire global reality and context of how people are talking about China today in real life. And in real life, that conversation is totally unbalanced. So what I'm trying to do, what my supporters and I are all trying to do, is correct that balance. That's it. Anyway, thanks everybody. See ya.